Before we come to Prime Minister's questions, I would like to point out that the British Sign Language interpretation of proceedings is available to watch on Parliament Live TV. We now come to questions to Prime Minister. David Johnson.
Question number one, sir.
Start.
Mr. Speaker, I can announce to the House that in light of the increasingly threatening behaviour from Russia and in line with our previous support, the UK will shortly be providing a further package of military support to Ukraine. This will include lethal aid in the form of defensive weapons and non-lethal aid. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the whole House will want to join me in congratulating Team GB's curling teams for winning gold and silver medals at the Winter Olympics. And, Mr. Speaker, I know that members across the House will want to offer condolences to the family and friends of our former colleague, Sir Richard Shepherd, who sadly died earlier this week. He served as the MP for Aldridge Brown Hills for 36 years. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
David Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. By 2027, Didcot in my constituency will be 42% larger than it was a decade earlier. Wantage and Grove will be 59% larger. There are thousands more houses going in Wallingford, Farringdon and all the villages I represent, and not a single new GP surgery. Does my right honourable friend agree that where we build new houses, we have to build new infrastructure so that people can still access the services they need to?
Prime Minister.
Yes, of course my honourable friend is right, Mr. Speaker, and that's why we're making record investments in the NHS and in schools and roads as we can, Mr. Speaker, thanks to the strong growth in our economy, and I'll make sure that he gets a meeting with the relevant minister to discuss his immediate local concerns.
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I join with the comments of the Prime Minister in relation to Sir Richard Shepherd? Mr. Speaker, we all want to deter aggression in Europe. We're not dealing with breakaway republics. Putin is not a peacekeeper. A sovereign nation has been invaded. The Prime Minister promised that in the event of an invasion, he would unleash a full package of sanctions. If not now, then when?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, the UK has been out in front in offering military support to Ukraine, and I'm grateful for what he said yesterday about the need to make sure that we keep ammunition in reserve for what could be a protracted struggle over this issue. But let the House be in no doubt about the extent of the package that has already been set out yesterday and what we are already doing. Because, Mr. Speaker, I don't think people quite realise that the UK is out in front. We've sanctioned 275 individuals already. Yesterday we announced measures that place banks worth £37 billion, worth £37 billion under sanctions, in addition to more oligarchs. And, Mr. Speaker, there is more to come, and we will be stopping Russia. We will be stopping Russia from raising sovereign debt, stopping Russian companies from raising money, and stopping Russian companies, as I said yesterday, even clearing in sterling and dollars on international markets, Mr. Speaker. That will hit Putin where it hurts, but it is absolutely vital that after this first barrage, we work in lockstep with friends and allies around the world. And we squeeze him simultaneously. We squeeze him simultaneously in London, in Paris, in New York at the same time. Unity, Mr. Speaker, is absolutely vital.
I hear what the Prime Minister says about sequencing and about further sanctions. But there's already been an invasion. And there's clearly concern across the House that his strategy, I accept unintentionally, could send the wrong message. So if the Prime Minister now brings forward his full package of sanctions, excluding Russia from financial mechanisms like SWIFT and a ban on trading in Russian sovereign debt, he will have the full support of the House. Will he do so?
I'm grateful. Mr. Speaker, I think yesterday, and I'm grateful, by the way, for the general support that the opposition have given, not just to our economic sanctions, but also to the package of military support, which will, as I've said, intensify. What we want to see, Mr. Speaker, is de-escalation by Vladimir Putin. There's still hope that he will see sense, but we are ready very rapidly to escalate our sanctions as I have set out. And under the measures that this House has already approved, and that we can now target, Mr. Speaker, any Russian entity, any Russian individual. We can already target not just the breakaway republics, the so-called breakaway republics in the oblasts of Donetsk and Lugansk. We can target members of the Duma who voted to recognise them. This is the most far-reaching piece of legislation of its kind, and I'm glad that it has his support.
Keir Starmer.
It does have my support, and if it's used, we will support it. We must also do more to defeat Putin's campaign of lies and disinformation. Russia today is his personal propaganda tool. I can see no reason why it should be allowed to continue to broadcast in this country. So will the Prime Minister now ask Ofcom to review its licence?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I believe that my right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport, has already asked Ofcom to review that matter. But what I will say, Mr. Speaker, is that we live in a democracy, Mr. Speaker, and we live in a country that believes in free speech. And I think it's important that we should leave it up to Ofcom rather than to politicians to decide which media organisations to ban. That's what Russia does.
Keir Starmer.
The request was for a review, and I'm very glad to hear that review is now happening. And Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to be deflected from the unity that this House needs just at the moment. At the weekend, the Prime Minister said that if Russia invades Ukraine, he will open up the Matryoshka dolls of Russian-owned companies and Russian-owned entities to find the ultimate beneficiaries within. Well, Russia has invaded, and it's time to act. If the Prime Minister brings forward the required legislation to do this, he will have Labour's support. So will he commit to do so in the coming days?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are, as I said, bringing forward in the next wave of sanctions measures that will stop all Russian banks, all oligarchs, all Russian individuals raising money on London markets, and we are also accelerating, Mr. Speaker, the economic crime bill, which will enable us in the UK to peel back in the next session, Mr. Speaker, to peel back the facade of beneficial ownership of property in the UK and of companies. It's gone on for far too long. We are going to tackle it under this government, Mr. Speaker. But on all these measures, I think it is very, very important that the House remembers they are more effective when all financial centres move forward together. And that is what the UK has been organising.
Mr. Speaker, I think I heard the Prime Minister say that the economic crime bill will be in the next session. I hope I misheard that. But I can assure him, if he brings it forward in this session in coming days, it will have our support. There's no reason to delay this. Let me also turn to the elections bill. As it stands, the bill would allow unfettered donations from overseas to be made to UK political parties from shell companies and individuals with no connections to the UK. Labour has proposed amendments that protect our democracy from the flood of foreign money drowning our politics. We can all now see how serious this is. So will the Prime Minister now change course and support these measures in the House of Lords?
Mr. Speaker, we have very tough laws, tough rules in this country to stop foreign donations. We don't accept foreign donations. You have to be on the register of the UK electoral register to give to a UK political party. And before he starts chucking it around, Mr. Speaker, I just remind him the largest single corporate donation to the Labour Party came from a member of the Chinese Communist Party.
No, Mr. Speaker. At this moment, as the House agreed yesterday, we have to stand united. And I am not going to be deflected from it. I note the Prime Minister did not agree to change the elections bill. I think that's a mistake, and I ask him to take it away and look at it again, those amendments in the Lords. Putin has invaded a sovereign European nation. He is attacked because he fears openness and democracy, and because he knows that, given a choice, people will not choose to live under erratic, violent rule. He seeks division. We must stay united. He hopes for inaction, so we must take a stand. He believes that we're too corrupted to do the right thing, so we must prove him wrong. And I believe that we can. So will the Prime Minister work across the House to ensure that this is the end of the era of oligarch impunity by saying that this House and this country will no longer be homes for their loot?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think any government could conceivably be doing more to root out corrupt Russian money, and that is what we are going to do. And I think we can be proud of what we've already done and of the measures that we have set up. And Mr. Speaker, I'm genuinely grateful for the tone of his last question and for the support he has given. And he is right that it is absolutely vital that we in the UK should stand united. And people around the world can see that the UK was the first to call out what President Putin was doing in Ukraine. We've been instrumental in bringing the world together, the Western world together, in lockstep to deal with the problem, to bring together the economic package of sanctions that I have set out. And, Mr. Speaker, there is still time for President Putin, as I've said, to de-escalate. But what is at stake, being absolutely no doubt, is not just the democracy of Ukraine, but the principle of democracy around the world. And that is why the unity of this House is so important today, and it is absolutely vital that the United Kingdom stands together against aggression in Ukraine. And I am grateful for the broad support that we've had today from the Leader of the Opposition.